Alright, we're all good. So I've just prepared a few things. So out of all the packets, I've just gotten little bits of samples of each that I'm going to use. So out of the papers, I've just got myself 1500. I've got 2000 grit in the paper. And then wet and dry, I've got the Mr. Hobby 2400, 4000. So I've written on the back because sometimes when you cut them out, you won't see the printing anymore. Just helps later. Then I'm going to finish off with the God Hand 10,000. Then after that, we're going to go through the coarse polishing compound, the fine polishing compound, and then the finishing compound. And I've got a soft cloth here, which is made by GSI. It's a fine microfiber cloth for polishing. Okay, I've got a bit of water here for the wet sanding, which I'll do later with these things here. Okay, so I'll just mark this. So just pretend that, you know, it's got a little scratch or something in it. And I'll do it quite obviously across the top. So if I sand it like that, if I rub it back, you'll see that it's all scuffed up. Okay, so I guess, you know, if you cut the parts off and then you do your first sand with 1500, it's going to look like this. Okay, from there we move on to the 2000. So we've been 2000 here, so we just sand it the same sort of way. So obviously the higher the number, the finer the particles are going to be. So you see, it's still all foggy. So as we progress, it's just going to get smoother and smoother. So first here, I've got 2400. We'll do a dry sand. Like that. And get rid of the dust there. Okay, I'll pop it in some water. It's all wet now. And this is going to give us a finer sand. Okay, so there you go. And then we'll move on to the 4000. I'll just go straight to the wet. So this is gentle pressure. Don't need to push it really hard. You might notice that with the water on the top, it's already creating a much better shine than before. So that gives you an indication of how smooth it's getting. As I rub it back, you see it's getting a little bit clearer. So you can almost see through it now. So give it just another quick wet sand, like so. Let's clean it off like this. Okay, so it's looking better already. Alright, I'm going to finish off with a 10,000 grit. The sanding sponge from God Hand. Stick it in the water, get it a bit wet. And just sand across the surface again. This one is super fine. So, gentle swirling motions tend to work the best. Because that way you even sort of pressure all the way across the surface. Okay, let's just wipe that off and see how it's going. Okay, so it's starting to get a bit of a gloss surface across the top. It's looking better already, isn't it?
Yes.
So, I'm going to move on to the coarse polishing cream. Now they come in these tubes, but you don't need very much at all. So I'm just going to get a bit of my cloth here. Get a clean section. Get a little tiny amount, I'll squeeze it up. Like that much. And then I'm just going to rub it across. Now this is quite gentle as well. You don't need to put really huge amounts of pressure on it. Now I'm just going to check it in the reflection to see if I've missed any bits. There's a bit more here. So wipe it off like this. Okay, so that's what it looks like, the coarse polishing cream. So it's a huge difference already. Okay, so the next one we're going to use is the fine compound. So I'll do the same thing. I'll get a clean corner on my cloth. Just a little bit there. Don't need very much at all. And then we'll just polish the surface again like before. Gentle motions. Okay, so let's just have a look. It's looking pretty good, I think. It's not bad. There's a little bit of swirl here. And just buff it up with a bit of clean cloth like this. Really gently, because sometimes if you push too hard, you can still put scratches into the surface. Just look at the reflection. That's looking pretty good. Probably needs a little bit of work here. So you can check the reflections coming off the lights. That's the best way of checking if it's all polished up. Yeah, it's looking pretty good. Okay, now I'm going to use the final one, which is the finishing compound, which is a super smooth. Same thing again, about the same amount, just a little bit, like so. And then let's go to the surface here. Okay, and look at that. I think that's pretty good. Okay, so there's an original. and there's the polished. Now if you do find there's any swirl marks left over, you might see a few fine ones. You can always put a wax over the top. So there's Tamiya modeling wax, or there's some silicone waxes you can get from like a homeware store. Or you can put a clear over it, and they'll be super, super clear after that. That's pretty much it in a nutshell.